Hello, my darling, and welcome to today's story time. Thank you for your patience while I have been gone. Here's a little story that I've written. Now lie back, close your eyes, and let me read you to sleep. And now, on with our story time. She hadn't meant to stay home. Nurses didn't call in sick. Not really. The guilt pressed in heavier than the feverish ache in her head. Heavier even than the dull, twisting pangs in her stomach. But the morning shift was already covered. The charge nurses had reassured her through the phone. And so she lingered in bed, curtains half drawn, the pale sun filtering weakly through the blinds. She tried not to think about the patient she was leaving behind, the endless carousel of charting, vital signs, and midnight codes. From downstairs, muffled laughter rose up like the chatter of birds. Her children, both home on summer break, and already busy filling the house with arguments. She smiled faintly, listening to their joking banter, the clatter of plastic, the high-pitched squeals of pretend emergencies. They had discovered the old board game in the closet. That much was clear. The buzz of the operation game, faint and tiny, reached her ears in irregular bursts, followed by delighted shrieks. She closed her eyes, letting the rhythm lull her. Buzz, laughter, buzz, giggles. The fever curled her deeper into the sheets, a restless half-dream tugging at her, dragging her toward sleep. But then, the first jolt. It wasn't in her imagination. A sharp, electric sting blossomed just below her ribcage, quick and stabbing, as though a live wire had brushed against her insides. She gasped, clutching her side, wide-eyed now in the dim light of her room. From downstairs came another buzz, her children howling with laughter. She froze. The pain subsided as quickly as it had come, leaving only her racing pulse and the echo of that sound. She told herself it was just the fever, a body trick, a phantom flare of nerves misfiring as she drifted between waking and sleep. But when the next buzz came, sharp and mocking, it tore straight through her abdomen again, sharper this time, like a needle dripped in fire. She cried out, the sound brittle and thin in the quiet room. Her breath came in ragged shivers. The game downstairs hummed on, her children oblivious to the echo of torment it carried up through the floorboards. Buzz, buzz, buzz. And with each burst, her mind unfurled a memory she hadn't touched in decades. Summer camp. She was 9, maybe 10. Scrappy and sunburned, determined to climb the tallest tree by the lake. She remembered the heat baking the bark beneath her hands, the way the camp counselor's whistle trilled in the distance. She remembered the pride swelling in her chest as she pulled herself higher, one scraped knee after another, until the leaves thinned and she could see the lake glittering like a coin tossed into the earth. Then came the bees. It had been an accident. Her hand shoved blindly into a hollow buzzing with furious life. The stings came all at once, a chaos of fire across her skin. She flailed, slipped, half fell, half scrambled down the tree, while the swarm followed, peppering her arms, her neck, her face. By the time she hit the ground, she was sobbing, her skin blistering with welts. Fever took her that night, hot and delirious, the stings throbbing in rhythm with her pulse. And now, lying in her bed decades later, she felt it again. The same burn, the same fire under her flesh, the same helpless terror that her body no longer belonged to her, but to the stings, the shocks, the merciless buzzing. She pressed her palms to her stomach, willing the sensation away, whispering to herself that it was just fever, just memory. But when the next buzz came, it wasn't her stomach that ignited. This time it was her ankle, flaring as sharp as a wasp sting. She jerked upright, clutching at the sheets, the sweat cooling in patches across her skin. Another buzz. Her shoulder spasmed, the pain radiating like lightning across her back. Her breathing stuttered, ragged, uneven. Not just from the pain, but from what came rushing in behind it. The 1,000 tiny voices of responsibility, each one louder and crueler than the last. The laundry. She hadn't started it yet, and the pile downstairs would only grow heavier, smellier, more impossible by the day. The shopping. She was supposed to go by the store, pick up milk and detergent, and her son's favorite cereal, the one he cried about when it was gone. The bills. 2 envelopes sat unopened on the counter, one stamped in red, the other lurking with its smug, windowed address. The patients. She could picture them, each one waiting in their beds, her name scrawled on their charts. Who would check their vitals? Who would notice the slight change in breathing? The tiny warning signs that only she could catch. Another buzz. Her ribs lit up this time, as though a hand had reached inside her and twisted bone against bone. She cried out, her voice catching in her throat. Her chest fluttered with panic. She curled into herself, rocking against the sheets, as if the movement could shake loose the thoughts. But the buzzing followed, each spark another reminder, another lash of guilt across her skin. The game downstairs carried on cheerfully, her children giggling at their clumsy mistakes, unaware that every slip of their metal tweezers sent their mother deeper into the pit, its tiny buzz like a drill burrowing into her skull. She could almost hear the tweezers scraping against the game's conductive edge, the clumsy laughter that followed. Except it wasn't clumsy anymore. Another buzz. White-hot pain stabbed through her left elbow, So sudden, she dropped back against the mattress with a strangled gasp. She cradled her arm, eyes wide. Her breath, difficult, almost mechanical now. Buzz. Her knee twisted, as if wrenched by unseen hands. She cried out, the sound muffled by the pillow she clutched to her face. And then, beneath the laughter, she heard something else. Her children's voices, still high and sweet, but lower somehow, steadier, not wild giggles, deliberate whispers. I got her elbow. I got her knee. Be careful, one of the children murmured, though the sound seemed to crawl from under her bed. Don't touch the sides. Her skin prickled, sweat chilling against her fever-hot body. They weren't just playing anymore. They were playing with her. And upstairs, trapped in her bed, she was the game. After a moment of stillness, her body jolted upright with a cry, lungs gasping as though she'd been underwater. The room was still, soaked in the hush of early afternoon. No laughter, no buzzing, just the ceiling fan spinning its lazy circles above her. Her sheets were tangled, damp with sweat. Her hands shook as she pushed her hair from her face. For a moment, she couldn't tell if she was awake or still buried in the fever dream. But the silence felt real, blessedly real. She sat for a long time listening. The house held its ordinary noises now. The soft click of pipes, the faint rush of cars beyond the window. No whispers, no buzz, no phantom shocks curling through her bones. It was just the fever, she whispered to herself, testing the words like a charm. When she finally stood, her legs trembled beneath her, but she made it to the door, down the hallway, down the stairs, each step creaking in familiar complaint. The living room came into view, sunlight pouring across the carpet. Her children were casually playing on the floor, coloring books scattered, crayons rolling across the rug. No board game in sight. No metal tweezers. No red-nosed patient staring up with his empty plastic grin. Relief broke through her like a tide. She nearly laughed, a short, cracked sound that startled even herself. She turned toward the kitchen, already thinking of a glass of cool water, of shaking this nightmare free. But then, a sound, faint, tiny, familiar. Buzz. She froze, head snapping back toward the living room. Her children hadn't moved. They were still bent over their coloring, crayons scratching cheerfully. But the sound rose again, longer this time, and beneath it came the smallest of voices, perfectly clear, perfectly timed. Careful. Don't touch the side. The color drained from her face. Her stomach lurched as the old fire sparked alive once more, the sting returning, first in her ribs, her ankle, her throat. She tried to scream, but the buzzing swallowed the sound. And upstairs, in her bed, she woke again. As her eyes fluttered open, it wasn't to her ceiling fan, nor to the lazy spin of the afternoon light, but to blinding fluorescence, the hiss of machines, the steady, merciless beep of a monitor. A nurse leaned close, her face drawn, whispering to another just beyond the bed. Tubes tug at her skin. Her chest rose and fell, only with the help of a machine that sighed in rhythm for her. White sheets, sterile walls. The hospital. No, she tried to shout, but only a wet groan escaped her parched lips. The nurses exchanged glances, pens rasped against clipboards. Their voices were hushed, detached, almost rehearsed. This isn't real, she wanted to scream. But her breath wasn't her own as her chest rose and fell, rose and fell. Had she lain here all of these years, dreaming in circles, tethered to life by machines? Had every game, every sting, every buzzing shock been nothing but the coma's whisper? Don't, she rasped, the word bubbling against the tube. Drool glistened on her chin. Her vitals are stable, one nurse said flatly. Yeah, Gary said she mumbles sometimes, the other replied, her voice casual. You hungry? The other smiled. They have tacos in the cafeteria today. They both turned, sneakers squeaking, walking out with the door clicking shut behind them. She pressed every flicker of will into her lips, forcing the words out through the plastic lodged in her throat. Don't touch the sides. Again, and again, and again. Her eyes rolled back, the fluorescent light smearing into gray haze. The steady beeping blurred into something else. Buzzing. Laughter. Crayons scratching on parchment paper. Children's voices rising in argument, shrill and endless. The stink of sour milk curdling in the sink. A basket of damp laundry, molding in the corner, damp with rot no one would ever clean. Bills breathing on the counter, their plastic windows gaping like hungry mouths. Each sound found its rhythm. Crayon strokes, the bickering, the bathroom tap that had been dripping since they moved in. All of it buzzing in time with the same merciless hum that pulsed through her ears. The warmth of home wrapped around her like a wet, sweat-soaked quilt, heavy as lead, clinging to her skin like fever, rank as the overflowing kitchen garbage can. Almost ordinary, almost safe, almost as sharp and sour as the plastic tube scraping her throat. Her parched lips cracked into a faint smile, because in the dream she could pretend. In the dream, the buzzing never stopped. It just wore new masks, arguments, errands, debt. In the dream, she hadn't lost decades. In the dream, she was entrapped in death. Buzz, laughter, crayons. Careful, child's voice whispered. Don't touch the side. And this, my darling, ends our story time for today. As always, I hope that you have very sweet and creepy dreams.